I'm your host, Emma Jane, and I'm thrilled to have all of you here with us today. This is a show where we dive into topics that help you become the builder of choice in your market. Today, we got a fantastic episode lined up for you. We're joined by two amazing experts, our senior consultant, Ed Hauck, and Jennifer Hoops from Higharc. Both of them bring a wealth of experience in product development, and I can't wait for you to hear their insights. So real quickly, let's talk about becoming the builder of choice. It is all about establishing yourself as a leader in your market by building strong relationships with your employees, trades, customers, and other stakeholders in your business. This is when people want to work with you and for you, when you're organized and disciplined with your systems, processes, and procedures. You become the builder of choice everyone wants to work with, and that's what gives you the competitive edge. Now, have you ever wondered how to design homes that sell in today's challenging market? Well, you're in luck. In this episode, High Performance Product Development, Designing Homes That Sell, we're going to give you some valuable insights on navigating the current market challenges and developing products that not only meet, but exceed your home buyers' expectations. We're going to cover everything from how to deal with high sales prices, cost to high interest rates, increasing amount of discounting that's going on. Plus, we're going to talk about how builders can maintain profitability, speed up the introduction to the market of new products, and key factors to consider when you're developing new products. We're going to have a great conversation. It's conversational. Just think of us as sitting around in a coffee shop and you guys are listening in. But you get to ask us questions. So feel free to send us questions in the chat and we'll be sure to answer them as we are able to. So let's get started. But before we do, I do want to ask Ed and Jennifer to join me and give us a little bit of an introduction of who they are and why they love being in home building. So Ed, why don't you kick us off?
I was going to say ladies first, but okay. But anyway, my name is Ed Hauck. Got into the business literally when I was 15 years old, and Chuck always said that business is a disease. So I got into it when I was 15 and never left. At some point in my career, I kind of got involved with product development. I met Chuck and Emma. The business side of product development really opened my eyes. So I come at product development with my eye on the target, profit. Trying to set the site from the sale price, the design process. My years way back when I was still a framer, brings a different avenue of perspective of the product design, trying to assemble the building cost effectively. We call that performance engineering. But Jennifer, I've been working a lot, literally more on the design side. A lot of builders are struggling to design product that looks good and cost effective. What I like about working with Jennifer is as I'm thinking and talking, she's key banging and creating product and go like, wow, okay, then how do we make it better? How do we make it more cost effective? Just changing roof pitches. I was working with a builder on a roof pitch that you couldn't see from the ground. It was a 12-12 front to back, changed it to an 8-12 and saved a couple $1,000s. The only time you could see that 12-12 was from 3 miles away driving in the job site. So I like the visual that Jennifer brings to the table using Higharc. I just love that aspect of it.
Thanks, Ed. Jennifer, give us a quick introduction.
Hey, everybody. So thanks for that intro.
Frozen?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
You.
Okay, great.
I do.
So thanks for the intro, Ed. I'm happy to be here, honored to have this discussion with you all. So I come from home building from the beginning. My parents owned a custom home building company when I was a kid. But more recently, I've been working in the architectural roles at big production builders. And so I've had the benefit of learning quite a bit about what product is, what it means to the bottom line. And I think that's one of the reasons, Ed, that you and I can relate so well to lots of things when it comes to that regard. I spend a lot of time these days talking with people about how they manage their product libraries and what that means to their business. And of course, I work at Higharc now, which is a tool that's really designed and built from the ground up to help address the problems that we see with managing our product library and the rest of our business. So always great to hear that we're headed the right direction, visualizing some of these things, giving you the controls that are needed to run your business. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about what that looks like and how we can kind of come together on the things that are important for our product strategy and really build our business to be a more proactive approach to product management than a reactive approach, which is somewhat what we see today in the industry.
So, as usual, right now, you and I are the only ones on. We lost Emma Jane somehow. Luckily, I have Emma Jane and and you talked about some questions. The first thing I want to go through is what you and I are seeing as challenges. You just mentioned product strategy. You said that, I don't know, a few months ago in one of our Zooms, and I love that term. One of the things that I work on and you work on a lot with teams is the challenges. Right now, the challenges, the list goes on, interest rates, discounting, buy downs, all that stuff. Tell me a little bit about from you what you're seeing on product strategy as it pertains to these challenges.
Yeah, what I see for the most part is that this idea of being reactive to the market is really problematic for builders today, right? So by the time that you realize that there's a problem, by the time that you want to make an adjustment to your offering, if you will, it's very cumbersome for you to do that, right? So let's just say it's something simple like your roof pitch example that you gave a few minutes ago, Ed. Save a couple $1,000s in a world where you're doing buy downs, you're having trouble getting materials potentially, you're really concerned about your house costs. A couple $1,000s is super meaningful, right? And so what I want to talk to builders about is how can we be more proactive about considering what types of things you're going to need to update. We've been doing this for a long time, and we can name off 10 things that we know we're going to push and pull as the market changes, as I need to increase or decrease house costs. I want to be proactive about what that strategy is and how it relates to the plans that I ultimately sell, so that when we're having these struggles that are going to come, we all know that, right? That we are able to say, okay, you know what? I thought about this. I thought about what would happen if the market took a slight turn up or down, and I'm prepared for it, right? I know the things that I'm going to do to make adjustments to my business. And so then that moves us from this reactive product strategy where it's like, okay, something happened. Now I've got, months of work to make any sort of adjustment, to a situation that said, I thought this might happen. I'm going to make an adjustment today or next week or in a short time frame to be able to really run the business in an agile way.
I like being the proactive. In my current world as a consultant, I work with people, builders all the time. I think what you said early on, the product strategy. In my old world as a builder, we had 3 product lines, and our product strategy was be looking at our product line, thinking about our product line, talking about what's going on. I remember every single Monday sitting there talking about what we saw from the last weekend. What were your web hits? How's your traffic doing? What's the competition doing? And I think you've really got to be careful. And that product strategy, and you just mentioned one thing was a hot button for me. One of the things about having hair in my color means that you've lived through a bunch of downturns, and we got good at them. I mean, the last downturn, the spigot shut off. This spigot shut up real slow. It just kind of like started and just kept going down, down, down to the faucets, trickling. Now, to Jennifer's point, being this proactive and having a strategy, I have my current product line. What can I do to adjust that? If you're I'm not a big fan of discounting. That doesn't help your buyers a whole lot. I see a lot of builders that are doing the buy downs. I talked to a couple of buyers recently, and the buy down works. It's really helping them get their price down significantly. I have a builder right now was telling me he's 3.99. He could actually raise your sale price a little bit and cover that. But the most part, that's still costing you money, that buy down. So think about it. If your direct construction costs are 50%, I love playing with the product line. And by buy downs 50%, I only have to find $25,000. To the point that we just talked about, changing that roof pitch a little tiny bit, that was like a $5,000 in savings. Jennifer, I have this one plan we're working on now, tweaking a little bit here and there just trying to find that Shangri-La target of that $25,000. Your team has to be able to react, have to agree. I love the visual that Higharc brings to the table. I love being able to get the team to see it, because a lot of times what happens is, yeah, that sounds okay, but I don't know if I'm okay with an 8-12 pitch. You get a 12-12 pitch front to back, you can't hardly see that side.
Right. That's right. Well, and I think it's also, Ed, it's more impactful to a lot of different pieces of the business than just the direct house costs. Another conversation I was having recently was with a builder about their land acquisition approach, right? And they were also being very reactive. Well, we develop a lot of product based on the land that we're seeing become available. And in reality, if you were able to think more strategically about these types of things, you really get a good dialed in plan. If you could step back, and I think if we started to allow ourselves to think of it as a strategy, you guys are experienced in the building world. You know what you're going to need to do. I need 2 feet more. I need 2 feet less. I need this much more square footage. I need this much less. When you can start to develop a system that works for your market, for your business, it's so meaningful, because you can apply, the expertise that you bring at around, the efficiency of a plan design itself. You can get so much more out of a good plan if you can start to think about this stuff strategically versus reactively as well.
I call those builders land opportunists. In my current world, I still build. I'm a land opportunist. I found a piece of ground, and to Jennifer's point, a lot of builders, don't take this the wrong way, any builders out there, we're not that good at product development. We're good at product collecting. We have lots of plans. We're good at throwing some ideas at the wall. But if you want to be a land opportunist, right now, that's a huge, huge, great place to be as land deals are coming up. If I can lower that cost of my land and get in. But if I got to change, to Jennifer's point, one of my stories I tell all the time, the last downturn, I had to get more efficient. So I was stuck in Denver at the airport for a builder group meeting. And in that time, of course, we had a snowstorm. I had nowhere to go. I drew a plan up. Jennifer, this is funny, all old school, with a pen and pencil, a scale, 11 by 17. But old school, I took a plan from 55 feet to 50 feet and literally lowered my cost. Exactly. I call that being a good land opportunist. But that was 14 years ago with a pen and pencil. Now with technology, if I want to be a land opportunist and go find if I got a 50-foot product, and now I got a 45-foot opportunity with land that's 10, 15% less, I can move quickly in the current environment with the right technology.
Yeah. It's about understanding who you want to sell houses to, what land is generally available in your market, and developing that strategy ahead of the need. That's what really moves the needle on designing homes that sell, on managing an efficient product library and bringing the most profitability to your business. It's just understanding those basic things, and sometimes you have to look at what's working and what's not working, right? So, maybe you've got a plan that just for some reason sells all of the time. What more can we do with this thing, right? Let's bring this to more opportunities. Let's let consumers, let the home buyers speak up through their choices around what they really want to bring to market. If we can provide a system, a tool, a technology that allows you to take that single plan and use it more often in more applications, you're making your team more efficient because they have to maintain less plans is really critical. You're probably more appealing to more buyers. And in general, you're just running a leaner, more efficient business. I think it's a great way to think of it, for sure.
So Jennifer, the one thing you just said is the good plan. A couple of things I want to talk about. The single good plan, taking that good plan that's a really good seller. Can I reinvent that plan? Maybe a little less square footage, maybe a little bit simpler elevation, maybe a little bit less texture. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and how that you and I on that one plan we were looking at talked about that. So talk about that one little single plan, and give you a heads up for the next piece. I want to talk about managing the product line strategy and the right quantity of plans, just not collecting plans. So Talk about that single plan for a minute, please.
Yeah, so Ed and I are looking at a plan for an upcoming event that I've asked him to kind of give us a review on, and understanding, it's a good layout, right? Like there's nothing wrong with the layout. The way that it lives is good. But what is it about the house itself that we can really dial in? Like what is the floor system depth that we're using? What is the strategy that we're taking to even things as simple as like bump outs, the overall method for the point loads and paths in the house. What can we optimize while maintaining what's good about it, right? Maintaining the way it feels, the way customers perceive it. And then at the same time, I think there's some level of, like, where have we gone too far, right? Where is someone just accepting this because it's included in the plan? It doesn't really need to be included in the plan, right? So I think that those are the types of things that we want to be very proactive, again, about understanding how we can take something that's working, make it more efficient, and start to reuse it in more places.
Yeah, so Jennifer mentions, Jennifer and I are very good at product development. Brian, Emma Jane's husband, is the marketer, but she was very subtle about, we do have an upcoming event live in Denver, a 2-day session on this. The plan that she's talking about, we looked at the other day. Oh my God, my mind was racing. It's a great plan, but can I have this plan on let's call it the Littleton plan? Can I take this Littleton plan and keep it at Littleton because it's a great selling house? But in the current world, can I take this house from 650 down to 550? And then that I think was pretty easy. To Jennifer's point, we looked at it. It lives great, but it's a pretty expansive floor plan. Can I simplify things just a little bit? And then we looked at the elevation, great elevation. And by the way, elevations are my number one thing that sell homes. What's the first thing that people see when they look on your website or drive by a house? Your model, the elevation. So not to disparage against Walmart, I don't want to go to Walmart and get a too cheap one. I don't know if that offends anybody, but hopefully Walmartians won't be offended. But, if I can take that house and really just simplify the exterior a little bit. This particular house didn't. It was a house I was working with. They had 6 columns, and each column had 4 different materials. I think the product design team put every material they could find on that column. This particular house, we're going to simplify the floor plan a little bit, try to reduce the price by probably 10, 15%. I'm pretty excited about playing with that one. And when Jennifer showed it to me, and what's the other guy from Colorado, AZ?
Yeah, Anthony Sufad.
Okay.
Yeah, AZ.
I was trying to remember his name the other day, and I kept messing it up. I kept calling him ZA, and I'm going like, "Are you dyslexic?" So I figured out it was AZ. Anyway, we start playing with the plan, and there's so much we can do with that one particular plan. And what Jennifer said earlier, it's a good plan and it's selling. So what I want to save is the great kitchen. What I want to save is the elements of the elevation. What I want to save is the elements of the primary or owner suite, whatever you call it in your market. I mean, there's so many good parts and pieces of that. But then we started looking at it. There were some other areas that, keep in mind, the market changes. 3-4 years ago, we could add anything you wanted and raise the price. That house is definitely was a piece of that. Add, and you'll still continue to sell it, and let's raise the price. Now, how do I get these parts and pieces back out to be more cost effective?
Yeah, and that's just a product of the market that we're in today, right? Maybe I wasn't so worried about my included features a year or two ago, right? But today, I need to get this thing down and lean so that I can offer it at the price that I need to offer it, given the market that we're managing in.
Agreed. So one of the challenges is, in my old world, we had 3 product lines. When we had downturns before, ups and downs or whatever, we got good and nimble about being able to manage this one particular house. If you got multiple products, if you got too much product, you can't manage it. I used to always look at how much could my team manage, and for the most part, builders try to manage too much. My best builder, in all of our builder groups, is a builder out of the Atlanta market, a hot market, 600 homes a year. He's got 12 plans. That's like 40-1 sales to plan ratio. I have another builder in the Southwest, had 125 plans to sell 175 homes. That's probably the worst plan ratio. Jennifer, can you imagine trying to manage 125 homes only to sell 175 homes?
Yeah, I can. I also think that it's a reality for most people. I think that there are big opportunities for us to be more streamlined in what we offer, not only from a plan standpoint, like the number of plans you sell, but I wonder how many people out here listening to the call today have an elevation that's never sold, right? Or an option that's never sold, or something that you've never used together.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
those types of situations exist in the industry every day, and it drives so much complexity into what we do, right? Because I have to draw it whether or not you sell it. I have to estimate it whether or not you sell it. We have to purchase it whether or not you sell it. And so I think this conversation about becoming more strategic for what you're going to offer, plans, elevations, options alike, is really important.
So Emma Jane, you were standing there so still. I didn't realize you was a live shot. You were just standing like perfectly still. I never saw you stand perfectly still.
Well, anyway, yeah, internet technology, good times. That's why we still need humans to solve problems. Technology can only do so much. I do have a question though, based on your conversation that you're having. We just left a builder group meeting, and one of our builders, he's a fantastic builder in Alabama. One of the things he talked about was the fact that he has created, not only has he created tremendous value in his homes, but he's also figured out how to price them correctly. And part of the product development process is really understanding your market and understanding what is valuable to your customer, to your buyer, and what they'll actually pay for. During this process that you guys are talking about with the product development process, what are some key things that you can do as a builder to understand how to figure out the cost, the sales price, and create the value that your buyers are looking for, so that we can avoid some of this extreme discounting that the builders are doing right now, which is really seriously impacting their ability to plan. It's impacting their ability to maintain their profit margins. Because we did go, one of the things that was admitted is that we were in a place where prices were rising so high. And so there's this disconnect where they're having to maintain the value of their other homes in their neighborhoods, and also create a price that people can afford to buy in today's market.
So Jennifer, the builder they were with is a Higharc user, by the way, in Alabama. So I can't mention names, but you'll know who I'm talking about. They have done a great job over the years of the product strategy. In my past, when I had to readjust my product line, because of market conditions, I had to be real careful not to disrupt the rest of my community. Jennifer, I was looking at some pictures to illustrate this, and I have a picture in a community that one house 2 years ago is gorgeous, lots of details. The one next to it looks like an army barracks. Horrible. So it's hard to blend in when you have a market adjustment. The same thing is, I can't have a 60-foot product and introduce a 45-foot house right next to it. I forget where I was where I saw that happening. That's horrible. Jennifer, anything to add with builders when they're trying to transition and come down in price to meet the market now?
I think it's really about awareness. And so in this particular example, I know that builder is very aware of the cost impacts of the decisions that they're making, right? And so sometimes in my past, I've sat in a room with a group of people and they felt like it would look better if it had board and batten here, and it would look better if it had a bigger porch, and it would look better if it had a bigger window. All of those things might be true to you as an individual, right? But we have to be more aware of, okay, the cost per square foot to add board and batten is going to add $2,000 cost. Is it $2,000 worth of benefit that you want to add? Those types of discussions need to be facilitated within the product development process, because I think too often we're gut reaction. It's like, I think this would look better. Well, that may be the case, but we have to be better connected to our teams. We have to be better connected to our strategy so that when someone suggests something, you can almost put a dollar value to it. Is it X amount better to do that? So I think that's an important aspect of what the most strategic builders that I talk to have, that understanding. And when they talk about making updates to their product library, it's not my opinion is, it's this is what it's going to cost. Can we afford that conversation?
Well, and I do, and one of the things that is kind of on our list of things to talk about too is, in doing that, it's not something that an owner or somebody in production or somebody in purchasing, they're not making those decisions in a vacuum, correct? So what kinds of people are included in those kind of decisions, and how can someone really take advantage of their team to help understand what changes should be made and whether or not it's going to make an impact in velocity of sales, reducing sales price if that's what's necessary, increasing the value, because it is a push and pull, right? And what will work and what won't work, and making sure that you keep all of those things balanced. Who would you include in some of that decision making?
So, Emma Jane, you're right. I'm going to pick on everybody for a real quick second. If I have purchasing in it, then I'm going to take everything off the house, I'll remove all the windows, and it's going to be a big old dog box. If that was purchasing and estimating. If I gave it to construction, we're going to have the biggest parallels in the world. That's not going to sell. If I gave it to sales and marketing, I'm going to have $1 million details in affordable housing. We're going to go broke after the first house. It takes the team effort to take all these parts and pieces and make a business decision to meet the market with the best looking product I can possibly afford. Jennifer just mentioned some board and batten siding. Is it stone or stucco or brick texture? The builder I was just with, trying to save some cost, was afraid of taking full brick off sides and rear. Well, in the discussion, decided they're going to return it 12 feet from the curb, and as you drive, that's all you see. That was a great idea to pull that out. But, Jennifer, in my opinion, it takes the full team, and I need somebody up front leading it who's got P&L responsibility to be able to make that decision. But I need estimating to play a part, and I need sales to understand why we're doing it. Can we sell it? It takes the full team to make those decisions and make them work.
Yeah. I completely agree, Ed. I think it needs to be an overall team discussion, and I also like to use the idea of that strategy that we've been talking about as a sounding board, right? So I heard your idea. Here's what it costs. Does this really align with our strategy, right? Like, are we giving our customers more choice? Are we giving them better curb appeal? Like, why are we deciding to do this? And so I think it also, outside of the functional knowledge that Ed was just now talking about, it also helps bring the voice of, you're bringing complexity into our business, right? And we do or we don't want to accept that complexity as part of a team decision on what we're going to do moving forward.
Absolutely. Putting it through that funnel to make sure that the decisions you're making make sense in the long run as well as in the short term.
So one thing I want to add about the team is, once I have the team on board, and everybody is at the table, and they're bringing that information back to the rest of their team, so everybody understands. The other thing that the team has to understand right now, time is not on our side. As I work with builders a lot, we start seeing that, well, we're talking about it. Well, don't just talk about it, do it. And then if you have the team and they're a good functional team, how fast can I move? Because right now we're midsummer, sales, warm body traffic, everything's off a little bit. How fast can I react? Because right now, if I don't react quickly, I'm going to start affecting my Q3 and Q4 sales, and I'm already into 2026 starts if I don't move quickly. So time is not on our side.
Yep. And that leads to one of my questions is, we all know time is money, so speed to market is crucial. What are some effective ways builders can accelerate the development and introduction of new home designs?
Yeah, I think that it goes very much to what we've been discussing around having alignment across your team and your strategy, right? I would love to hear from, and this is something I ask all the builders that I talk to. Can your team articulate your product strategy and how it relates to everything else that you do? Like if I were to ask your drafter or your estimator, do they know how their work contributes to your business plan, right? That type of alignment is honestly, it's rare within the industry. And so I think if we can start to have better discussions around, hey, this is what we're doing, guys. We're going to go after this sort of thing. These are the pieces and parts that we're going to pull. We're going to work on being a lean and efficient, design team. Those sounding boards start to bring everybody together into a direction instead of just chasing, the moment, the flavor of the moment, if you will, right? And so I think that the best thing people can do is think through that and bring their team into that discussion around the strategy.
And you bring a good point, Jennifer. One of the things that we talk about a lot is when you know who you are as a builder and who your buyer is, you can create product that people will buy. And that's one of the things that we hear so many times when we're talking to builders. They're like, well, we do a little bit of this, we do a little bit of that. We're kind of high end, we're kind of low end, we're kind of, you know what, we'll buy whatever land. And you're like, who are you? Like, take the time to figure out who you are as a builder and who you're building homes for, and really identify that buyer. Not just like, Brian said the other day, he goes, not just a buyer that's willing to spend $1.5 million or $250,000 or whatever their price range is. Dig down. What do they do for work? Do they have a family? Do they have dogs? Are they both professionals? Are they, what are the types of people that you are building home for? Who is that buyer? And really, really identify it, because otherwise you're just throwing darts at a board and hoping you hit a bullseye.
Well, that's the purpose of having a really good team. That team should always have the finger on the pulse of what the buyers are doing. And Jennifer talked about this before, what's your product strategy? How often do you look? Are you watching what's selling, what's not selling? In our old world, we looked at it literally every single Monday. We made decisions and made changes once a month, all the time. We're always evolving our product line. We got good at it to the point, if I was going the plan that Jennifer and I were looking at, I could turn that thing around literally in 2 to 3 weeks on the market with a reduced sale price, possibly a new name. But you really need to have that team, and the team's goal has to have urgency and speed. Emma Jane's mother, Emma Senior, her favorite word is discipline. You got to have that discipline for the team to understand. If I went to the sales team and say, listen, I'm going to take this great selling house. I don't care what price point it's in. It's all relevant. But I got this great selling house. If I can tune this up and make these changes and give you a new, better sale price, that's how I get buy-in from that team. Now I got to get the buy-in from estimating, purchasing, and design. How fast can we move? Design's doing this. Okay, how fast can purchasing get it done? And if you're a bid management company, you're doing it the wrong way, because now I'm waiting 45 days for my trades to come back to me, and I got zero clarity. I want to have those parts and pieces, make decisions quickly, efficiently, and roll it out. And once I get good at it, and I know what I'm going to change in this house, with Jennifer and I can work on it. In 2 weeks, I can roll out a new from price, knowing in 30 days I can roll out that new product. But most builders are not product centric and just do it the hard way.
Let me ask you a quick question, Ed, because this is kind of spawning off of our executive summit that we just had back in April. Is any of this possible that we're talking about today? Is any of this possible without the buy-in from leadership?
No, leadership is usually the problem, quite honestly. Hey, any owners on there, close your ears right now. Owners say, I need this, 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 and this. Okay, well, I did this. Oh, I'll look at it tomorrow. There's no mañana in this. Okay, there is no mañana. So somebody has to be the owner of and be the leader of the team. And if we decide we're going to do this, we got to put the plan forward and move. The first thing that my sales and marketing team right now wants is give me some stuff to put online. Give me the new elevation coming soon, whatever it is, and I got to meet that delay. meet that time. I don't want to delay in this. So what I need the team to do to understand, what is it, July 17th. I've got literally about 1 month, and people are starting to come back from wherever and start thinking about a house. Can I meet that market? And to Emma Jane's point, I got to have somebody who's going to drive the team, and the team has to understand how fast I'm going to move and focus on.
Yeah.
And leadership from the top of the organization, they have to be the ones that are, they have to be agreeing on this, because if you have a leader or an owner that doesn't have buy-in to the process, it won't happen. It won't happen. It has to come from leadership as well. There has to be buy-in from the top.
So Emma Jane, the builder you were just with, and we won't mention names, the reason why they hit the market. So anybody who's a football fan, when you have a post pattern, it's not going to work if you're the quarterback and you wait for the wide receiver to get to the end zone and throw the ball. The whole world will be there. What this builder did is saw the change in the market, and from leadership down, the entire leadership group, from the president of the leadership team, they took the product and they tweaked the product so that way by the time the wide receiver got to the end zone, the ball was right there. I was watching some highlights on the ESPYs last night and saw some of that. For whatever reason, that stuck in my head about today. I don't know why. I need a hobby, Jennifer. I need another hobby.
Yeah, he saw that there was changes coming in the market last May, and he had new product in the ground already built when we visited them this summer.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and that's kind of what we've been talking about when you're saying that buy-in needs to come from leadership. That's accurate, because that's the first person out of the gate in planning what we're doing, right? So if you're looking for land, if you're developing a business plan, all of these things need to be aligned with what the functional day-to-day people are doing. And so, I'm sure we all have these stories about, like, I knew that wasn't going to work, right? I remember having conversations with my purchasing director saying, why is he making us do this? It's never going to work, right? And so I think that that's the kind of thing that we need to avoid. We need to have open dialogue and conversations around, what we're doing. But, it's also because it's hard to have the visibility that's required to have this strategy. And so I think really investing your time and effort into understanding what that means for your business, it's what needs to happen. I know that it feels overwhelming to have this idea of, I hear what they're saying, but I don't know where to start, right? And I think that that's the what you have to do. You have to be willing to just think strategically about the entire approach and how you can start to get the visibility to inform yourself and your team to make the decisions that you need to make.
So
Absolutely.
Jennifer, a lot of that goes back to builders that carry too much product line. They're too overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They just can't find the time. That's a huge problem. Another builder that I think is on the call was texting with earlier this morning. Their problem is and you mentioned, like, why are we doing this? We know it's not going to work. It's the old Eeyore syndrome. Well, it's not going to work anyway. But that builder only got about 50% of they design a house, they price a house, they bid it out, and the end it doesn't work. They only bat 500. So to the builder that Emma Jane was just at, they're a very product-centric builder. They know who they are. They're literally the leader in the market. They're always ahead of the rest of the market. So they literally made a decision over a year ago, seeing the change in the market, and had that discipline to bring the team all marching in the same order. It was being sales and marketing, did the upfront recon work, estimating, purchasing, product design, how to get their end together, production, how to build it. And they met the market before the market got there.
Yep, they sure did. They were a very well-oiled machine. They had discipline, they trusted each other, and they had good communication throughout the whole process. We are coming up on our time. So before we close everything out, I do want to get, what do you each, and I'll start ladies first this time, because I didn't get to hear Jennifer. I want to make sure I get to hear Jennifer in case my internet goes out again or something. But I would love for you guys to share, what is the one thing that you hope our listeners got out of our time together today? So Jennifer, if you want to share what your one nugget is that you hope that they got today.
I think that's a great question. And I think the answer is I want you to feel like you understand that the key to moving forward in all markets, good markets, bad markets, whatever it is really to develop and understand a strategy. And once you understand, like you were saying, Emma Jane, who you are, what you want to do, the things that we know are going to come up. We have been in this business for a long time, and I know that you have a list of things in the back of your mind that are going to become something that you have to deal with. We have to figure out what those things are and start planning and being proactive about managing the homes that we sell, the product that we design, much earlier in the process, much earlier in our business development, so that we can really get we can kind of reduce the chaos that runs through our teams. We need to get everybody pointed the same direction with a clear vision of who we are going to be and how we're going to deploy that.
Excellent. Way to wrap it up, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Ed, what is your one nugget that you hope everybody got out of today?
So all builders are great in a good market adding stuff. We're great at that. We'll throw a window in here and let's come up with this new elevation that costs $1 gazillion. We're great at ads. What we're not good at is the discipline to meet the market. So I think what everybody should really do is figure out where the market is, what's working at what price point, and have the team understand that you can do it. It's making hard decisions. I hear builders all the time like, well, I wouldn't want that in my house. What's not your house? Go figure out what your buyers are. You know, if I have the ownership or the leadership team and you're building for first time or move up buyers, you got to keep in mind, you know, what are their needs? What are their desires? Have that discipline to understand where you're going with in the current market. Right now, I mean, in my market, the nationals are not only discounting, but they're also doing buy downs. So understand, where you got to get to and have the discipline to get there.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us for this episode. And we hope you found that the discussion was very beneficial to you and inspiring to make those changes yourself. There's a couple of things I want to get to before we wrap up. I want to give special tribute to our founders, Chuck and Emma Shinn. Their passion and dedication to helping builders become the builder of choice in their markets have been the driving force behind the Shinn Group. And by focusing on tried and true principles, they've made a significant impact on the industry. And on top of that, because that education and learning is so important to them and to us as an organization, we want to offer you, if you would like to continue the learning beyond today, we have an exciting opportunity for you. And Bjorn, if you want to continue your learning beyond today, we have an exciting opportunity for you to join us here in Colorado. In August, we're actually going to be hosting this in our corporate office. We'll have a live seminar where you can dive deeper into the topics we discussed today. And it's an event you don't want to miss. Beautiful time in Colorado, right here in our own backyard on August 25th and 26th. We are limiting the class, so be sure to register early and get your team there. It's a great opportunity to get your team here. If you have a product development team, bring them. We'd love to have them. So we look forward to having you. I want to thank Ed and Jennifer for joining me today, and I hope you all enjoyed your time with us. We look forward to seeing you at our next one. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great afternoon.